Hey, welcome to another episode of the Two Shots Podcast live stream. And today we're going to be joined by some special guests. We're going to be joined by the one and only Tom Petrini. And we're also going to
What
be...
to do, baby?
Yeah, he's the head of the Spurs Mafia that we always hear about on Twitter and social media. And also we're joined by the lovely Ty Jager, whose face we can't see because he doesn't have a camera available to him. So we're only going to hear his sweet, sexy voice. How you doing, Ty?
You don't need a camera when you've got a voice like this.
Hard to argue with that.
You love his confidence, don't you?
But yeah, sorry, I don't have a camera. I'm on my desktop, and I don't usually do video live streams, so this is a first for me, even though I don't even have a video. So sorry, guys.
All right. Well, before we go ahead and get started here, I think introductions are in order here. Tom Petrini. He covers the Spurs extensively, has a big following on social media. And you want to let us know anything else that we don't know about you already?
I don't know. I got a baby puppy that I love very much. Her name is Dottie. She's like a 60-pound ball of muscle.
Wow.
I love her so much. She's a boxer, so she's just going to be a puppy forever.
Hey, boxers are high strung. They get in a lot of trouble.
Well, the good news is she's the best. She just is like the sweetest puppy in the entire world. But really, my entire life is consumed by my love for basketball and for Dottie and the Boss Lady. And yeah, that's basically my existence.
Yeah, you got to keep Mama happy, man. I'm there with you. And you, Ty, you've frequent Lock on Spurs, and you also help Jeff Garcia, our good friend over there with News 4 San Antonio in the Spurs Zone. Anything else you'd like to let us know about yourself before we go ahead and get started?
Hey, I got a good following too. I only have like 5,000 less followers than Tom, but I still got a decent following of like 1.4K. No, I'm just messing with you.
Do you really have 1.4K?
I don't guys, it's not a contest.
I haven't even looked to tell you the truth.
But
Stop it! You're embarrassing me.
But yeah, I'm a Spurs Zone contributor, and I also do. I'm actually going to be covering the Austin Spurs tomorrow when they come up to Frisco, Texas, to play the Texas Legends on Saturday. So I'll be covering that. I got my own podcast, At the Line. Mac Penny and I always do a lot of Spurs. We cuss a lot. We talk a lot of Spurs. Have a lot of fun over there. And then I've been a lifelong Spurs fan. Lived in San Antonio like throughout my childhood. Then I moved up to Dallas. Never once started cheering for the Mavs, of course, but I've been Spurs fans for all my life, and I'm just happy that for the past year, I've been happy to cover them extensively through podcasting, through articles now, and now jumping on everyone's different podcasts like yours, and just contributing and talking with Spurs family.
Speaking of podcasts, we need to get Tom to start doing a podcast. You're doing the live streaming thing.
Yeah. I can tell you a podcast is coming.
Nice.
Damn, more competition, I see.
No. Yeah. Again,
just,
not a competition. But Ty, how cool is it covering Austin Spurs games? I mean, that was something that I got to do with Project Spurs, and like it is a very cool environment to do that job because like you're in the room with these people, and you're at the same time not staring down the barrel of pop. And so it's definitely a really great place to get your feet wet as a journalist.
It's definitely a different feeling because prior to this, I did a game day operations internship with the Texas Legends, so I was able to go on the court, do a lot of that stuff. But coming in as a reporter, it's a very different feel that you're actually allowed to talk with players, but even then you're still like, I don't want to mess up. Who do I? I feel like I gotta be verified, and I gotta say, all right, can I talk with this person and all that? But overall, it's just a whole lot of fun. You walk in, you get a close up and deeper interaction with these players that you really see on paper, you see on Twitter all the time, but you actually get to see them, you actually get to talk with them, and you get to ask the questions. It's not like you're just watching a reporter ask this. It's you asking the questions, and it's a really different experience. It's fun. It can be a bit stress and nervous at times, just especially since I'm only doing my second game for covering the Austin Spurs on Saturday, so I'm still a little bit nervous, but I am much more confident going into this one. But overall, it's a great experience.
I'll give you some words of advice, Ty. I fear the other members of the media more than I fear the actual players, because you got to fight for your spot, man. You got to shoot your shot when you get an open spot, because you're all cramped in there and you're trying to put your phone in somebody's face so you can get the audio. And man, you got to be brutal, man. You just got to go out there and do your thing, man.
This is what I've learned in, doing some of these press scrum events. If you, they give you like 3 minutes total, for however many people are there. And inevitably somebody else is going to ask about whatever event is going on today at the beginning, and then they'll explain why they're there. So you don't want to burn a question on that. And so I'll literally wait. I have a clock going in my head. I'll get to like 2:20. I'm like, all right, question time. And then you get in your 2 questions, and it's definitely stressful. It's really like, it's kind of nerve-wracking. It's a lot, but it's so much fun. I mean, how cool is this thing that we get to do, right?
It's, again, like I said, it's very nerve-wracking at times, because last time whenever I went to Austin, I got to talk to Jeff Ledbetter, got to talk about his new mullet. He cut off the locks. He has a mullet now. It's excellent. I love it. And I'm like, where did your hair go? And he's like, and I was like, he can't be rocking the mullet. He can't be. He's like, yeah, I'm rocking the mullet. But
yeah, man.
And then I also got to talk with Luka Samanic. Got to ask him a few things. He is. I think everyone forgets about Luka, that this man, he's still a kid. He just turned 20, and he is very soft-spoken, but he sounds very driven in the long run. But you also got to remember, he's a kid that's from Europe, that's coming over for the first time. His English is still a bit spotty, but still a good speaker. But he is still a kid, and just seeing the things that he's been doing in Austin lately, everyone should be excited for the 19th overall pick.
Yeah, I'm excited about the Austin Spurs prospects that we got cooking over there, I figure that in at least maybe 2, no less than 3 seasons from now, we're going to see a lot of talent come over here. And can you imagine? You have these young prospects that are going to start coming into their own. Plus, you already have the young guys that we have here that are going to be seasoned veterans, and that mixture of them both together, that could be enough to put the Spurs right back in the mix of things again. So quietly, the Spurs are rebuilding behind the scenes, and I'm excited. I'm for one very excited about it. But
whenever people say that, oh, the Spurs need to rebuild, I'm like, they've already kind of been doing that. They don't need to. They don't need to really break down anything, because they've already kind of been building this. And I always feel insulted whenever people are saying, "Oh, this has the best young core in the league." It's like, have you not seen the Spurs? The Spurs have
Go to Austin. Go to Austin. Watch a game.
I know, exactly.
It's so funny when they'll have like a list of the best young cores in the game, and they'll get to number 6 on the list, and it'll be like Cleveland ? And it's like, no, dude, that's just teams that suck. Like the Spurs are there, and the Spurs kind of have sucked this year a little, so maybe they should get some consideration. But they have some assets.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and get things moving here. We're going to go ahead and hit our first topic of the night, and we're going to talk about the hot topic that's been all over the media, social media. It's been all over the web and everywhere, even on TV. I heard, somebody talking about that earlier today. And that is DeMar DeRozan getting snubbed for the NBA All-Star festivities coming up. And I got to tell you, I was kind of disappointed, kind of angry at first, because I looked at other players that were on the list that made the reserves. You have one questionable Chris Paul, but when I look at it in hindsight, I got to admire what he's been able to do with his team, as far as what he's been able to do with OKC. Nobody gave them a chance. They weren't even supposed to be in the playoff picture, more or less, in that 5th, 6th spot that they're in right now out west. So kudos to them. They've done a great job. But I still feel that DeMar DeRozan was having an all-star caliber season, especially with the points, what he's been able to do, not just putting up points, but being able to distribute the ball. And stat-wise, his stats across the board have been phenomenal. He's had a really solid season. So all in all, I was disappointed, but the silver lining, he plays a ton of minutes and he could use some rest. So I'll take that. At least he's going to get some rest, you know. But the streak of having a Spur in the All-Star game has been broken. 23-year tradition going back all the way to 1997. So I gave you my spew. Let's go ahead and start with you, Tom. What was your take on this?
So the thing with DeMar DeRozan, he's been playing at an all-star level for a little over a month now. It started in late December, and it started at the and changed the way the Spurs offense ran. And he was able to do exactly what he does best. And it was, I mean, he was shooting 65% from the floor for a huge stretch of that. So his efficiency was incredible. I think this year, of all the players averaging 20 points, 5 assists, 5 rebounds, only 2 of them are shooting over 50% from the floor. It's DeMar DeRozan and Giannis.
Yeah.
And, you know, he had, it was 13 straight games with, what was it, 20 points on 50% shooting or better. The list of people who had done that was like him and Wilt.
Yeah.
Like that was it. He was ridiculously good, ridiculously efficient in this in this last month or so. But I think the things that came back to bite him are the things that, at least I traditionally, when it comes to not just all-star games, but, you know, season awards like MVP, that sort of thing. The things that I traditionally criticize for getting those awards, you know, he kind of is a part of, like the defense and the team success. And the team success is not in any way his fault. It's not. And if he was in the East with exactly the same team, he would be making the All-Star team.
Let me ask you a quick question.
Without a doubt.
Because Spurs fans come down on DeMar DeRozan a lot, especially during crunch time. You know, like this last game, was it 2 games that they played 2 games ago against the Bulls, or, you know.
Bulls, yeah.
So he gets to the free throw line. He makes 1 of 2. Then he gets his miss, and he tries to put it back in. Last minute heroics, you know, see if it goes in and the Spurs can tie it up or get the win. Unfortunately, the ball just didn't go his way. And Spurs fans say, oh, he doesn't come up big for us in the clutch, you know, and big moments, he all but disappears. And I'm like, if it wasn't for this man, we wouldn't even have won 20-something games already. We wouldn't even be trying to go and make a run for that 8th spot in the West.
The Bulls one was funny. The Bulls one was so funny to me because he scored 10 points in the last 4 minutes of that game. And I mean,
he had big shots too. He came up big.
Yeah, he was hitting turnarounds on guys, like, you know, going through contact. I think he went to the line 17 times in that game. He had 14. And, you know, and he probably should have gone to the line like 25 times.
Yeah.
He draws so much contact on these drives. But he didn't get really that many calls. And he put this team in position down the stretch of this game. I don't know how you can watch that man play and be like, oh, he's not clutch. Like, clutch, for some people, clutch is just hitting the shots. And that's, you know, sure, that's a different thing. That's like, you know, Derek Jeter, was he one of the best baseball players of all time? No, not really. But, like, he was one of the most. And so in a lot of people's mind, that's clutch, like coming up in big moments. And sure, that's traditionally what clutch is. But, like, you know, we've all been thinking about Kobe a lot, and Mamba mentality was not like you have to hit every shot. It was like you have to not be afraid to take the shot. When it comes time to win the game, everybody knows that it's going to be in this guy's hands, because why wouldn't it be? Because he's their best shot at a bucket. And it's not shying away from that. And DeMar DeRozan has never shied away from that. He's never shied away from doing that. You know, he's failed plenty of times. As has anybody who's ever tried to do that. Kobe missed more shots by like 2,000 than anybody in the history of this game. And it's because he was never afraid to take them. And I think really the only time I saw DeMar DeRozan look passive was that game against the Raptors after Kobe passed.
Yeah.
And it was like the first game, like it was literally hours later. And he looked shell shocked, and who could blame the guy? But then later in that game, you know, he started to look aggressive and look for his shot. And he carried that into the Bulls game where he scored, I think, 35 points. And he carried that into the Jazz game where he scored career with the Spurs high 38 points.
Yeah.
So, you know, he's never been super deferential in clutch moments. Has he missed shots? Sure. But he's missed shots because he takes them, and that's just math. And I've never once questioned this guy's heart or his desire to win.
Or his
And
competitive nature, you know, his competitive nature.
and that's the most all-star thing about him.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and get Ty in here. Ty, what was your thought when you heard DeMar DeRozan was named to the reserves for the NBA All-Star game for the West?
So first, there was two major snubs. I think everyone knows that Devin Booker was definitely a major snub in all this.
Sure.
But I say DeMar DeRozan is a close second, no matter what. Just the way that he's been carrying the Spurs team, and just the numbers that he's putting. Like you said earlier, this team probably wouldn't be where they are currently if it wasn't for DeMar DeRozan being on the roster. DeMar DeRozan's just been the MVP of this team this season. And if you honestly look at his numbers for the 3 years that he was an All-Star in Toronto, the numbers are very similar. They are very similar in nature to the numbers that he's doing right now, if not better, especially against field goal percentage, where he's scoring 23 points a game and shooting 53% from the field. 53% from the field while he's attempting like 16 shots a game. That's just all out amazing. And just then looking at the other guys, the two major guys that I highly disagree with being in that reserves are Chris Paul and Russell Westbrook. I know everyone enjoys Russell Westbrook. He's a fan favorite, and that's probably the biggest reason that he's in there. But I still don't understand why Chris Paul is in all this. He's not even the best guy on his team. He's like fourth on the Thunder when it comes to points per game. And honestly, if it was going to be anyone from the Thunder, it should have been Shea. But Chris Paul should not be in there, and Russell Westbrook should not be in there. Oh, especially over Devin Booker and DeMar DeRozan. And Devin Booker even said it best earlier in an interview pregame was the NBA is a different game than the one that he fell in love with. That all the best players in being an All-Star game, it doesn't exist anymore, and that's what we're seeing today.
Yeah, it's a popularity contest.
It's always been a popularity contest, though, right? Yeah. I mean, like, you know, that's just kind of how it is. And honestly, Devin Booker is wildly popular. Like, people love that guy. He has a really crisp, exciting game. I think Ty had a good point about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. That kid's been balling, man. Also, another big time snub, Alex Caruso. I'm just kidding.
I was gonna say I'm gonna come right down there.
I was gonna say Morant. I was thinking more along the lines of Morant. I think his day's coming. But Ja
has been fantastic. Ja is so much fun. Like every time I check into League Pass, I'm like, "Where's Ja?"
If you look at All-Star selections, though, when it comes to rookies, I think Luka got snubbed last season from being in the All-Star. And that's what we're seeing in Ja, essentially, where they don't really want a rookie in the All-Star game. But
they're like, no, we got a separate thing for you.
Also, the other thing that sucks too, because Kyle Lowry was named the Eastern Conference reserve. They robbed us of a Kyle Lowry DeMar DeRozan reunion. Come on, it sucks, man.
Everyone wants to see that bro hug.
Yeah, exactly.
That would have been amazing. That's one of the reasons why I was like, it would have been so great if DeMar DeRozan would have made the All-Star game, you know, because he would have been reunited with his former teammate. They would have shared a moment out there on the court, maybe. And also would have been for an awkward kind of situation. What if he was paired up out there with the Deuce, the Kawhi Leonard.
There's so much drama and fun that
They
there
could
could
have
have
spun
been.
that.
Like, even if LaMarcus was out there could have been a lot more fun if they put DeMar DeRozan into this All-Star game than putting Chris Paul.
Huge missed opportunity. Like that. You said LaMarcus. That would have been so funny if like they wound up on the same team, and then LaMarcus was like posting up, and Kawhi was like, "No, dude, like get out of my way." And LaMarcus was like, "Yo, give me the ball." That would be so funny.
Yeah, that would have been hilarious if we would have seen some action like that from LaMarcus and Kawhi. Because Kawhi is all about getting his now. He's Hollywood now, from what we're hearing. There's been stirrings.
I mean that was another kind of wild thing about the Kobe news. I don't know if you guys seen that, but Kawhi was like, "Oh yeah, like I flew with that guy a lot. Like I knew that dude." And like I had no jokes about like like Kawhi is flying helicopters now. It was like, oh my god, like
that's scary. It's
like crazy to think about.
It is.
And I mean, yeah, not to be all Debbie Downer, but I mean, we've all been thinking about this all week, and
I've been thinking about it every day, because I have kids.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what if I have 3 children. What if something would have happened to me and one of my kids, and then my other children and my wife are left behind to kind of pick up the pieces and try to make some existence in this world that we share with each other. It would be a surreal experience, kind of like you were caught in some type of alternate dimension kind of thing. It's like, how do you go on? How do you even move? How do you wake up and function every day? That's what I'm thinking as a parent, with my thoughts and prayers going out to the Bryant family, specifically, Vanessa, and how she's the matriarch and having to kind of, be the glue that holds that family together. So I'm thinking about that every day, and it's made me realize a lot of things. Life is too short. We shouldn't all be at a some competition with each other. We should all embrace, eat one another, and help, and be behind and be supportive of everything that everybody does. So that's made me realize a lot of things in my own personal life. So the Mamba is actually bringing everybody closer together, so to speak. So I know I'm going to be watching the game tonight. Can't wait. 9:30. It's going to be a late tip, but I'm going to be watching for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's it's just a really shocking and cruel reminder about how fragile life is. And I've confronted that on my own a little bit, but every time there's something super public like this where it's somebody who everybody knew, and he was just one of those people who like it's weird to think like I think it's silly when people say, "Oh, it couldn't happen to me," but like it damn sure couldn't happen to Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
Like, and it was just really shocking and incredibly sad. And yeah, it's every single day I've thought about it, but something I've learned with grief is that even if it makes you sad every day, like if you lift that weight, it makes you a little stronger, and it makes you a little more appreciative of everything that we have here that's so beautiful.
Yeah, that it does. So we're going to go ahead and move on here too. We're going to talk about our next subject or our next topic, and that is, now that we know that Spurs not being named to the All-Star reserves, so the West reserves, are you all going to even watch the NBA All-Star weekend festivities? We'll start with you, Ty. Do you even care about watching, or your interest has waned now that we don't have a Spur in the mix?
Me always being an NBA fan, I'm going to watch, but it kind of sucks knowing that there's just kind of looking at what all the festivities are going to be, it looks like no Spur is going to be in any of these festivities when it comes to the dunk contest, the 3-point shooting contest. Although I think LMA should be in the 3-point shooting contest.
I think Lonnie should be in the dunk contest, but
and then Lonnie be in the Lonnie should be in the dunk contest. Lonnie should be in the Rising Stars game, but
true that.
nah, we're not. That's one of the biggest snubs too in the Rising Stars game. But overall, I'm gonna watch it, but I'm not gonna be too heavily devoted to it. I would say I'm not gonna be heavily invested, just knowing that there's literally no Spurs being in any of these festivities. But it's still All-Star Weekend. It's still gonna be fun. Plus, I'm kind of interested to see the different game format that the All-Star game will have. Plus, who doesn't love their new fantasy draft situation now? That's always fun to watch.
True enough. So, what about you, Tom? You going to be watching the NBA All-Star festivities?
I will be. It's honestly, it's better for me if there's no Spur involved because then I can just like watch and kind of relax a little bit and like kick my feet up, get some tweets up, and
maybe have a
just
beer.
yeah, like enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I think one of the really special things about covering this game is like the NBA community and NBA Twitter. And, you know, if there's a night where all of us are hanging out in the same Twitter like room and universe, that's pretty fun. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be watching. I think we have some of the most exciting players who have ever played this game that are going to be on that court. And some of them are really young and some of them are real old. And it's just like, it's always fun, man. It's always fun to watch an all-star game because stuff happens that could literally never happen any other night. Like this playing to 20, I don't even know. I've read the rules 6 times. I still like my brain is just broken and I can't quite comprehend. I'm sure it'll be great. But I genuinely don't get it.
So all right, so let me try to explain the rules because I think I kind of got them. So so essentially each quarter,
to me like I'm really dumb.
All right,
so I am.
So the first 3 quarters, they're each like their own individual game. But so after each quarter, score resets. So if it was 24-25, it goes to 0. 34-30 the next quarter, resets. Then another score. But then going to the 4th quarter, the scores from those 3 individual quarters are now combined together like a normal game.
And they come back.
Yes. But so say the score is 100-98. Now, the team that has 100 points, they need to get to 124. Okay. So they need to get 24 more points to win. The other team needs to get to that same scoring mark, but they need to get like 26 points instead because they're 2 points behind.
Gotcha. I felt like that one meme or that GIF that they have out on Twitter from The Hangover where they have that guy and you see all the numbers swirling around you and stuff. That's how I felt when I first saw that. I'm like, what? What is this?
But again, so say the score is like 100-98. The team that has 100 needs to get to 124. The other team needs to get to 124, but they have to make 26 points instead of 24 points like the leading team.
I got it. I like that. I like that it's playing to a number. I think that's a fun concept to play with because, it feels more like casual and fun. I don't know.
Kind of like a big 3, I would say.
Yeah, like I like that. It feels more like, the natural like basketball that I play at like, 24-hour fitness and you just play to a number and like, there's no worrying about the shot clock or, it's fun. It's a little more fun. And hopefully we'll see the game like really slow down and it'll be cool to watch.
Yeah, let me read some comments here from some of our viewers. Pedro Martinez, he says he's been watching the game or the NBA since 1986 and he's watched only half of an All-Star game. He says there's no passion to win it, at least not in the first 40 minutes. He's not lying, and then we have Tony Ornelas is kind of replying to him and he says, he's replying to Pedro Martinez. Well, Pedro Martinez is replying, or Tony's replying to Pedro. No passion. He says, you're right, but these guys just want to have fun and also not get too crazy because it's a possible injury for them. You got that as well. Everybody wants to go out and have fun. Not everybody's out there, and come on, guys. They're not playing defense out there. Everybody's just
Right.
letting it's low contact, minimal contact. They're just putting up points. They're trying to entertain the crowd.
I mean, do you want to see somebody blow their knee out in a meaningless game?
No. Or blow their
That would be
Achilles.
so dumb.
No.
That's why it's so dumb that the MLB All-Star Game, it matters so much who wins.
Yeah.
Like, All-Star games are not about winning.
But also MLB, it's not, injuries are not going to happen as nearly as often or as easily as NBA. But I honestly enjoyed the All-Star game just for the random feats that people will do, like that.
Right.
Like I forgot which year, Curry just tossing it up like high arcing to Giannis. That's the stuff I will enjoy from an All-Star game.
Yeah, like when else can you see Steph tossing a lob to Giannis?
Nowhere.
Yeah, nowhere else.
Unless you're playing NBA 2K.
Yeah, no. And you got to be pretty deep in a GM mode or whatever. Like, you
Yeah.
got to be pretty stacked if you're throwing a lob with Steph to Giannis.
Yeah.
But yeah, the All-Star game, like Pete Rose ended the dude's career in the All-Star game. Nobody wants to see that anymore. These guys, they're worth too much, not just like in terms of the money that they make and the revenue they drive, but like to these individual teams who are like fighting for playoff spots and like, titles. Like you don't want to see guys, fouling hard and just, gutting it out to win an All-Star game
Yeah.
and risking in a serious injury to win an All-Star game.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the All-Star game right now. One of the changes I think needs to be made, they need to do something with that skills challenge because over the years, it's one of the most boring events to me. They need to add some pizzazz to it, make it, do something with it, man.
What if like instead of just like the hole to pass it through, somebody was standing in front just like this?
Yeah,
know,
make them
dancing around.
Make them jump over a pool full of sharks or something. I mean, come on, man. Make it exciting once again. I want to see something.
We don't need them jumping the shark though.
As a tribute to Kobe, you have to jump over an Aston Martin going 80 miles an hour.
There you go. We need some stunts. Something needs to happen, man, because
81.
that thing is boring. When the skills challenge comes out,
Trampolines.
3-point contest I can get up for. 3-point contest is exciting. Everything else is boring, But the dunk contest that hasn't been exciting for quite some time. The last great dunk contest we had was Levine and Gordon.
Gordon got robbed.
That he did. That he did. I'll agree with you.
That one where the sitting while jumping over the mascot.
Yeah.
That was my favorite dunk.
Yeah, and I gotta say, like the that dunk contest was great, and I agree with you guys that Levine shouldn't have won it because Levine functionally had one dunk that he did and packaged slightly differently in 3 different ways. But I mean, Aaron Gordon, like the creativity, just they were both 50s every single time they went out. But like Zach LaVine was like, oh my God, I can't believe his body can do that. And it was incredible. And Aaron Gordon was, oh my God, his body's ridiculous that he can do that. And like, that was so cool.
Plus, everyone forgets Puff the Magic Dragon was on a hoverboard.
Yeah.
How the hell did he do that?
2013 or whatever it was.
What's his
that
name?
was incredible.
What's the Magic's mascot's name?
It's Puff the Magic Dragon.
Puff.
The only reason I know this is because of that dunk contest.
Oh my God! Because you could see it on the back of his jersey as he's spinning around.
Yeah.
Hey, Puff the Magic Dragon is a cool mascot, but unfortunately, no one's gonna beat Coyote.
And
But-
Levine's in it, right?
Yes, I
Yes.
believe so.
He is in
And
it.
is Gordon in it yet, or do we not know yet?
I don't think we know yet. They haven't
He
released
sh-
that.
If he doesn't do it, I don't know what to tell. Like, you got to do it. Like,
So it looks like Aaron Gordon's gonna be participating. I think Dwight Howard, Derek Jones Jr. from Miami, and then possibly, and I think Zach LaVine.
Why put in Dwight Howard? I saw him try to dunk in the offseason when he was out there hooping it up on the court by the beach, and that didn't end well. He don't got the hops no more, man.
That popularity contest, man.
True that, man.
dude, I mean, I don't don't think anybody wouldn't want to see Vince Carter do it because like
Yes.
he wouldn't have to like go full like elbow in the rim. Like even a 40 he's 43, a 43-year-old man dunking it is impressive enough, and he's Vince Carter. Like he's literally without question the greatest dunker of all time.
Give him one dunk. Give him one or two dunks for the whole game.
Give him one dunk just for
Yeah.
giggles,
Yeah.
and like the entire arena will be screaming for the rest of the night.
True that.
Like, and
All right.
and how fun would that whole dunk contest be to have all of those guys who have been part of historic dunk contests together?
You bring up a good question. What if they bring back some of the former dunk champions that are already old and they have them jump off of trampolines or something?
I want to see what Neek can do. I bet Neek can still dunk. I bet MJ could use a trampoline to dunk.
I bet they could. They would probably surprise some people. Some of them look like they can still play. You know?
Yeah.
They're in
All
good
right,
shape.
Of those names I said, Zach LaVine is a rumored, and he's mulling the decision, but Aaron Gordon, Dwight Howard, and Derrick Jones Jr. are officially for the dunk contest.
Okay, cool. All right, guys, let's go ahead and transition now. Let's go ahead and talk about our last topic for this live stream, and that's gonna be, what are your predictions for the upcoming rodeo road trip? You know, the Spurs have an 8-game road trip coming up, and it's a juggernaut. It's not that there's not really any gimme games here. You have them starting off the road trip against the Clippers, then they play the Lakers, then they play the Trailblazers, the Kings. That game scares the heck out of me because the Kings and the Spurs do not match up well, and the Kings have had the Spurs number. Then you have the Nuggets, you have the Thunder twice, and then you have the Jazz, and the Jazz are no slouch, especially when they're at home. So given all that, what do you think their record's going to be? We'll start with you, Ty.
This could go either way. Unfortunately, we know how the Spurs have been acting, where they will win against big teams and then they'll lose against some of the worst teams in the league. So
Like
I could easily see they could easily be going 7-2 according to how this all goes, where they will win against every big team, but then they'll lose to the Kings and Blazers. But realistically, I could actually see them splitting down the middle, going 4-4, bet maybe at best 5-3 out of this. But I think they can get that Clippers game because they've shown that they can beat that Clippers team. But that Lakers game is the next game on a back-to-back, which I don't think they can do that. The Lakers are just too dominant as right now. That Blazer team, that's gonna be a hard game because that Blazers team's kind of finding a rhythm. Damian Lillard's just going off, but they're also worse than the Spurs currently, technically. But just going down the list, I think they can get some wins over some of these big teams if they play the way they have been. And if LaMarcus Aldridge comes back and he's healthy, I think the Spurs team could go on a decent run. But also there is in the back of my mind, they could easily go 0-8 on this. They could easily go back on an 8-game losing streak if they really falter. But this is not the Spurs team that we saw at the beginning of the season, fortunately. But this still is a Spurs team that's starting Bryn Forbes, Trey Lyles, and still throwing in Marco Bellinelli occasionally. So this team can. Its problem is you want to predict this, but you really can't because you don't know how the hell any of this is going to go down.
Man, some of our viewers are wilding right now. I'm looking at some of the comments, and one guy put, Vince Carter reminds me of Jetfire from Transformers 2. Wow. Wow. That was a great comment, Pedro Martinez.
That guy came home from work and put his cartoons on. I love that.
Jetfire from Transformers. Wow.
Wow.
And Michael DeLeon says, my good friend Michael DeLeon from Project Spurs says, his prediction, 4-4 is what the Spurs are going to go on this rodeo road trip. So you, Tom, what are you thinking? You go ahead and let us have it because you're more of the realist.
Yeah. So when you said it could go either way, I thought you were like, in my head, I was like, yeah, they could win either like 4 or like 1. Like those were the two ways I could see it going.
Just to clear, I don't think they're going to win. I don't think they're going to go 8-0 on this run. I just don't think that. But I think honestly, the best record that could come out of this is probably 5-3.
That's more in my range of expectations. Like I could see 5-3 happening. I could see the Spurs beating the Lakers because the Spurs have actually played pretty well against, like, they've had a decent game plan against the Lakers when they've been able to execute it. And that is like really commit to the paint, turn them into jump shooters, and live with whatever happens. And if they have an off night, they have an off night. And that's literally the only way you can beat some of these teams. Like, that's the only way they beat the Bucks. That's the only way. It's the only way you can beat a team like that. So maybe they could win that game. Like, could you imagine if the Spurs, like, how Spurs would this be if they like lost to the Hornets and then followed it up with winning back-to-back in LA?
That would be crazy.
Like I could so see that happening. That to me is more realistic than like any other combination of wins and losses somehow. That's just what I've come to expect.
That's confusing to me, Tom. Team. I can't figure this team out because they can beat teams like, they can beat good teams. They can beat the Bucks, but they can't dispatch the Bulls. And they can get up for some of the upper echelon teams, but the sub teams that are below 500, they have issues with. And I don't know if it's them playing up to the level of the talent or what the issue is, but I can't figure it out.
The Spurs are currently below 500 teams that are 11-12, and I don't know how that is.
I want to take a look at this. I just had a thought about this as we're discussing it. Team like Giannis. Giannis is team like Giannis. Team like the Bucks with a player like Giannis.
Yeah.
You know who is never going to be guarding Giannis on purpose? The Spurs starting or reserve shooting guards.
I was going to say Bryn Forbes.
Yeah.
That's what the name I was expecting.
Or Marco.
Like, so here's a legit theory. Against a team with a star like that, the Spurs can put some of their better defenders on that guy and are never exposed to that level of a mismatch on the perimeter, which in turn destroys everything defensively that they're doing. And they play not as well against teams like the Suns.
Yeah.
Teams like Chicago that have, very good point guards and shooting guards.
Or the Rockets. Remember, they had a lead on the Rockets, and they let them come right back in and steal that game from them.
Yeah.
So that confuses the crap out of me, and it upsets me,
Yeah. It's confusing, but at the same time, we know what's happening, because we can see what's happening. And basically, as long as this rotation continues, where it's heavy doses of guys who can't play defense against a starting unit, if we continue to see rotations and lineups that just ignore the fundamental need to play two defensive guards against some of these backcourts in the NBA. If that continues to happen, then, I think we're going to continue to see results like this.
Yeah. Well, I got to keep moving this on forward, but I'm going to give you my quick prediction. I think the Spurs realistically can probably go 2-6 on this rodeo road trip. I'm going to keep my expectations low because if they win more than 2 games, I'll be ecstatic. But I just see them maybe winning one of the games against OKC. I can see them being competitive and coming away with a close win over the Blazers. But all the other teams, I don't know, man, because they're so inconsistent. From a defensive perspective, you just never know from night to night what team is going to actually show up. If they play defense consistently for 4 quarters, they could beat every team out there on the list. But we know how they are. Notoriously, we can see how they're going to, more or less how things are going to pan out. So you just hope and pray that they can play defense at the right time and win more than 2 games. So that's my realistic expectation for the road trip. If they win 2, they've already exceeded last year's contest where they only won 1. And that was in overtime, and that was because we got some help from the refs against the Grizzlies. So I'm just hoping that things will have a better, they'll have a better win record this year.
And you know what? They still made the playoffs after that.
Yeah, they did. They did. And that's what I'm coming up to next. Our last topic is going to be, do you believe the Spurs are going to make the playoffs? And I'm going to hit you all with some numbers real quick. The Spurs had to win 23 out of 13 games prior to them winning this last game. They had 36 games left on the season. Now that win is going to be 22 wins. They can only lose 13 more games because I have them at the magic number is 43. If they can get 43 wins for the season, I think that's the minimum number of wins needed to get that 8th spot. Do you all think that is possible? We'll start with you, Ty, because I know we're running out of time.
I think they can. If you look at the start competition where it's a bit wishy-washy. I think Memphis is too young. While they are good and they are now at 500, I think Memphis could easily start dropping some games if they get an injury or if someone just starts going on a cold streak. Blazers are they just have too much injuries going on. I think once Nurkic comes back, it's going to be a bit too late. Phoenix, they're Phoenix. It's not really going to go anywhere. Memphis has dropped off the map completely, so we don't have to worry about them. And I just think Pelicans are too far behind. I think the Spurs are in not the best situation that they could be, but they're in a good situation where they could easily take that 8th seed. If they start going on a run, if they take advantage of this rodeo road trip and get some good quality wins, then I can easily see them going into 8th. If they go on another losing rodeo road trip, then I'm going to have some worries about it.
Okay. What about you, Tom? I know you're going to hit us with the dose of reality. Will they make the playoffs?
This is a cop-out, but TBD.
TBD.
I think that's still kind of a hot take that we still don't know if this team is going to make the playoffs because it's 2 coin flips, basically. The first coin flip is, can the Spurs figure their own stuff out? Can they, iron this rotation out and tighten up the defense and, really commit to the most efficient brand of basketball that they can play.
Yeah.
Starting defensively.
Yeah, you got about 2 minutes left on your clock because Ty got to go somewhere at 7. So.
Yeah, no worries. I'll wrap it up. Just play me off with that music. No, but I think that because they have shown this ability to play really well against some of the better teams in this league, if they could just figure out how to beat the bad ones, they'd be, especially down the stretch run of this season, the rodeo road trip is tough. But then the flip side of that coin is they're going to be getting a lot of games at home against lesser competition down the backstretch of this season. So that's something to consider on the Spurs side. And then on the other side, like Ty said, Memphis is young. They're definitely a really good basketball team. And what a rebuild that was. I mean, wow. Like, that is as well as you can do a rebuild. Sending a guy everybody loves to a contender where he wins a title and bringing back immediate returns that make you immediately contend for the playoffs. That's awesome. Good for them. I don't think the Spurs need to do that because I think there is still a chance that with this group they can turn things around. But it's going to come down to whether or not they can figure some things out. And my faith in that ability has been shaken a little bit this year.
And just go add on with you is like, I believe in the squad. I think the players and the assets on this team can really be a great team. It's just been the one thing I've been saying since the beginning of the season: rotations. These rotations need to be adjusted. They have been, and they've been better, but they're still not the best rotations this team could honestly have. And if they just adjusted the rotation just a bit slightly, aka take Bryn out of the starting rotation and put him into the bench unit, like I'm not saying take Bryn out of the rotation entirely. I'm just saying swap him with Lonnie for the bench. That's all you need to do, and you will have a good, better starting unit, and I think the rotations would be much more solid as a result.
Yeah, well, I can see that. So I'm going to go ahead and, because we probably got like a minute or two left, I'm going to hit Spurs fans with a dose of reality. My thing is, if the team is limping in and they're barely going to go ahead and get that 8th spot, do we really want them to even make the playoffs? Just for what though? Just so they can continue the tradition, get into that 8th spot, and then get bounced in the first round of the playoffs? That's not Spurs basketball to me. Yes, they're doing that because they deserve to be in that 8th spot because they played well down the stretch. But overall, do we really want to see our team get bounced in that first round again? I, for one, do not. I want to see them do better. So maybe they should, just finish out the season the best that they can to the best of their ability. Even though they don't make the playoffs, I, for one, wouldn't be disappointed. If they do make the playoffs, I would be ecstatic because they've already exceeded expectations. What were you going to say, Ty?
My counterpoint to that is, at this point, people are trying to say that this team needs a tank. At this point, it's too late. You can't do that. You can't do that. You're going to get a mid-round draft pick no matter what.
Yeah.
At this point, I say go all for it. The Spurs have shown quite well that they do not need a high draft pick to draft really well, if that's what everyone's really concerned about. At this point, your team should be wanting to win, should be all in on that. And when the draft comes, and that's when the Spurs are at their best. They know how to they know how to get good guys at higher picks. Lonnie Walker was their highest pick, and since trading for Kawhi,
Yeah.
and even not counting trades, that's the highest since 1997 when they drafted Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
So the Spurs know how to draft with high draft picks. Spurs fans should be all for the Spurs winning this season and not trying to tank because at this point, it's way too late.
Well, here's the thing, though. If they don't have a good rodeo road trip, this is the part that really gets to me. If they wanted to make a game of it, if they don't have a good rodeo road trip, Coach Pop needs to release the young bucks, man. Go the rest of the season and ball out with your young guys because you know what? They need the experience. And playing your veterans, we've already seen what's going to happen. If, in fact, they don't have a productive rodeo road trip. The veterans at times just aren't cutting it. It seems like when he plays the young bucks, they come in there and they're excited. They appreciate that playing time and they make the most of their minutes and they put on a show. And I got to tip my hat to one Shazeme Metu. I've had my eye on this young man for quite some time. I've seen him in passing and had a few words with him. Told him I'm a big fan, looking for him to do great things when I seen him in the Spurs tunnel. And, he's like, I appreciate that. Thank you, And I've even seen him in practice when I go to the games and I watch them warm up. And being able to see what he's been able to do, in his limited play, he has some Timmy-esque moves. And I've seen Tim Duncan working out with him. So I attribute, hey, he's learning the teachings of Timmy as, Jakob Portal is as well. So I saw Timmy the other time.
Mezzi's been developing a lot. He has a much more complete game than last year in Austin.
He does.
And that's credit to him on that. And that's the way that he'll be playable in this league because he's still a little small to be guarding on the block. But his versatility that he's now developed is really cool.
His 3-point shooting. I saw him play some games with the Austin Spurs. He's developed a really solid 3-point shot. It looks very fluid. Even his release, everything. It looks great. It's something that he's developed this season. And I think that's going to help him maybe, get into the rotation at some juncture. Not this season maybe, but maybe in the next season. He'll get some solid minutes. He only plays limited minutes. And Coach Pop really isn't, notoriously going to play some of these younger players because that's just the way the Spurs system is,
Right.
But before we go ahead and bring this show to an end, let's go ahead and give you guys a chance to plug yourselves and let the viewers know where they can go ahead and follow you guys on social media. We'll start with you, Tom.
I mean, I feel like I shouldn't have to plug myself since I have such a big following.
Your millions of fans.
Just Google me. You'll find me out there. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you guys very much for having me on. This was a ton of fun. I am gonna be on do a regular soon. Some other work announcements coming soon. So keep an eye out for that.
We'll keep an eye out for that, and we'll go ahead and support you and everything you're doing. And Ty,
Oh, thanks.
where can
All
they
right.
follow you on social media?
You can follow me at Ty Jager Radio. That's Ty Jager Radio. I'm only 5,000 away from Tom, so help me out here. But no, I'm just kidding. But you can also check out my podcast at The Line on Twitter at The Line Pod or at thelinepodcast.com. If you want to check out what Mac and I have going on over there, we have a lot of fun over there. We might not have the follower base like Tom does, but we put out. I'm making Tom blush. I'm sorry.
I mean, for real, guys, go and give Ty and Mac a
Yeah,
follow,
guys,
man.
seriously, unfollow me. I'm not even that funny. Like, just go follow Ty.
We're always liking your tweets. I will say, giving Tom crap or anything, Tom puts out some of the best content on Spurs Twitter that you can find.
There you
And
go.
I love watching you guys race to get clips up. It's quite entertaining.
Hey,
Yeah, Joe's my competition, man.
You're the Woj and Shams of Spurs clips that the account itself won't post. But yeah, no, this was really fun. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, not a problem, man. We got to do this again, and maybe we can start bringing in some new faces as well. I'd like to, bring in everybody who does Spurs, coverage and, covers the team and has either a podcast or a live stream, even other guests from other shows and stuff. It's all about supporting the community, and that's what it's all about. It's not about always being number one, but also helping everybody else come up as well. So that's what we're all about.
I would say last thing for me, do keep an eye on my Twitter on Saturday. Like I said, I will be in Frisco, Texas, where the Texas Legends play while the Austin Spurs are in town. So, and I'm hoping to get some decent big interviews whenever I'm covering the game. So keep an eye on my Twitter on that. Again, that's Ty Jager Radio.
Get some close-up pictures of Keldon and Luca's muscles for reasons.
There you go. Tom wants the close-up of the muscles, so make sure.
I'm curious.
I'll see what I can do, man. I'll see what I can do.
Send him a close-up. Zoom in.
I'll get a picture of Ledbetter's mullet too while I'm at it.
Oh
Absolutely.
God, I love Ledbetter,
Never seen
man.
it
I was kind of disappointed that he didn't make the squad. I'm always rooting for him, man.
I wanted forget like an interview. I want to do a full-length like documentary movie on that man's life. I want to know
On his mullet.
everything. on his life. I want to know everything about Jeff Ledbetter. I want to hang out with him. I want to be like his live-in best friend.
He looks like a dude you could have some fun with, man. Just like hang out and chill, drink some beer.
I will say he is that kind of dude.
Yeah, he looks like it. Play some NBA 2K, drink some beer.
Yeah, like he could really use like an underachieving live-in best friend. Like I could be that.
I do get
assistant.
Right.
I do get to say Jeff Ledbetter is my first professional interview of all time.
Hell yeah.
NBA
for
NBA coverage.
That is a really cool one. You'll literally never forget that. And someday your grandkids will be like, "Who is Jeff Ledbetter, Grandpa?" And you'll be like, "Sit down, kids. I'm gonna tell you a story."
I'm gonna tell you the greatest story that's ever been told about an NBA player or semi-pro NBA player.
The greatest summer league player of all time.
We're gonna retire the mullet. We're gonna raise it to the rafters. All right, guys.
Number 2 will be retired because that's his number.
Oh my God. Well, before we go ahead and end it, y'all can follow me if you want. You feel like I have some merit out there on the Twitters and Spurs Twitter.
He does follow him.
Because y'all be wilding sometimes on Spurs Twitter, man.
I command that you follow these gentlemen.
So you could go ahead and follow me at Two Shots Podcast, and it's all spelled out TWOSHOTS Podcast. And also just go ahead and check us out on the website, twoshotspodcast.com. And you can check all our social media handles out there. And we also have videos and, from the Spurs recaps that we do after games. So for Tom Petrini and Ty Jager, I'm Joe Garcia. Thank you guys for watching another episode of the Two Shots Podcast. Like we always say, spread the love, stop the hate, and be kind. We're out. Peace.
Go Spurs, go.